Borderline personality disorder, more commonly known as BPD, is a complex and deeply nuanced mental health condition that affects approximately 3 to 5% of the population, though estimates can vary widely. What makes BPD particularly challenging is not only its intensity, but also its wide spectrum of symptoms and experiences. While it is often discussed as a single diagnosis, in reality, BPD is heterogeneous, meaning that its presentation can look dramatically different from person to person. Over the years, clinicians and researchers have recognized that BPD can be divided into 4 distinct subtypes. Understanding these subtypes can be helpful not only for individuals navigating the disorder, but also for loved ones, clinicians, and anyone seeking a more compassionate, accurate understanding of BPD. Let's begin with the first subtype, high-functioning, internalizing, or quiet BPD. This subtype is sometimes considered the pure form of BPD, in the sense that its symptoms are primarily turned inward rather than outward. Individuals with this subtype often excel in their professional or academic lives. They may hold high-powered jobs, frequently in caregiving professions such as nursing, teaching, or mental health services. On the surface, they might appear calm, competent, and even thriving. However, beneath that exterior lies a profound sense of despair, emotional fragility, and chronic fears of abandonment. When triggered, perhaps by a perceived slight, a minor mistake at work, or the threat of rejection, the pain is deeply internalized. Rather than expressing anger outwardly, these individuals direct it at themselves. Their inner dialogue can be harsh, self-critical, and at times, self-destructive. They may engage in self-harm, restrict food, or push themselves to exhaustion in an effort to maintain a facade of competence. Co-occurring depression and anxiety are common, and these mood symptoms can sometimes overshadow the underlying BPD, leading to misdiagnosis or incomplete treatment. In therapy, the focus often starts with depression or anxiety until the pattern of self-directed rage and profound self-blame becomes apparent. Despite their high level of functioning, individuals with this subtype often have low stress tolerance. When under pressure, their coping mechanisms can collapse, leading to periods of deep despair or self-harm. The second subtype is known as the petulant, or sometimes histrionic subtype, though the latter term is less favored due to its historical gendered implications. In the petulant subtype, the outward expression of distress is more apparent. Here, emotional dysregulation is accompanied by marked attention-seeking behaviors, social immaturity, and a strong sense of entitlement. When these individuals don't get their way, they may become manipulative, act out, or present as victimized. There is a tendency to seek validation, and if it is not forthcoming, the resulting frustration or disappointment can quickly spiral into feelings of abandonment and rage. In some ways, the petulant subtype overlaps with what is known as covert narcissism. There are threads of entitlement, victimhood, and passive demands for attention. Despite these similarities, there are key differences between the petulant subtype of BPD and histrionic personality disorder. In histrionic personality disorder, the focus is primarily on superficial attention-seeking and discomfort, when not the center of attention. The reactions to disappointment are less about the deep-seated fear of abandonment and more about regaining the spotlight. By contrast, in petulant BPD, the distress is rooted in a fundamental fear of being unwanted or left alone. The emotional volatility, manipulative behaviors, and social immaturity are all attempts to stave off the overwhelming experience of abandonment. The overlap with narcissistic traits can make this subtype especially challenging both for clinicians and for those who interact with the individual. Moving on, the third subtype is the angry, externalizing, or impulsive BPD. This is the presentation that many people most commonly associate with BPD, and unfortunately, it is also the reason for much of the stigma surrounding the disorder. In this subtype, emotional pain is expressed outwardly, often through explosive anger, verbal outbursts, or even physical aggression. These individuals may rapidly escalate from calm to enraged, particularly in response to perceived abandonment or disappointment. Their distress tolerance is very low, and when overwhelmed, they may lash out at others, break objects, or become highly confrontational. Impulsivity is a hallmark of this subtype, leading to risky behaviors such as substance abuse, reckless driving, unsafe sexual encounters, or overspending. The combination of externalized rage and impulsivity makes this subtype particularly visible and often frightening for those around them. Suicidal threats or acts of self-harm may occur in the heat of the moment, sometimes as a way of showing others the depth of their pain or as an impulsive response to emotional overwhelm. The overlap with narcissistic traits is notable here as well. The lack of control, manipulativeness, and difficulty accepting responsibility for one's actions can resemble aspects of narcissistic personality disorder. However, the core of this subtype remains the same: a profound difficulty with managing intense emotions and a deep-seated fear of abandonment. While this subtype may be the most recognizable, it is important to remember that it represents only a portion of those with BPD. If you're enjoying this video, please make it reach more women by subscribing and liking. Take a look at the links in the description. There are always wonderful surprises for you. Finally, the fourth subtype is the depressive, internalizing, or self-defeating BPD. In this presentation, chronic dysphoria and depression are at the forefront. Individuals with this subtype often struggle to maintain employment or relationships, not because of outward chaos, but because of ongoing, pervasive sadness and hopelessness. Triggering events, such as rejection, disappointment, or abandonment, can deepen the depressive symptoms, leading to profound self-neglect, social withdrawal, and heightened risk of self-harm or suicide. The depressive features can dominate the clinical picture, sometimes leading to a misdiagnosis of major depressive disorder. However, the emotional instability and marked fluctuation in mood distinguish this subtype from pure depression. In the depressive subtype, the combination of emotional pain and low energy can make it difficult for individuals to seek or maintain support, whether from therapy, family, or social networks. Isolation and self-neglect are common, and the risk of suicide is particularly high. While the quiet subtype may maintain functioning through work and external roles, those with the depressive subtype are often more profoundly impaired, requiring significant support and intervention. When considering all four subtypes, it becomes clear that BPD is not a monolith. Each presentation brings its own challenges, strengths, and needs. For clinicians, loved ones, and those living with BPD, recognizing these differences is vital. Treatment approaches, including therapies like dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, may need to be tailored to the individual's subtype and unique experience. Most importantly, understanding the diversity within BPD can foster greater empathy and more effective support, helping to challenge stigma and encourage hope for those affected by this complex condition.